Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to something a little bit different here. Something special. Welcome back to myself alongside Kuro discussing something we just watched and expressing our feelings and all the sadness inside. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back.
I am already dead inside in that regard. There's no more feelings to be expressed.
It's over. It's over. So something that we have been doing off stream every now and then, whenever we have some free time, has been catching up with some Star Wars. Again, we haven't really been watching and keeping up much with any of the Star Wars like Disney Plus live action like shows or anything like that at all. And we decided to try to catch up with that, especially with the release of more. Something that we did enjoy and something that we did watch was Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, alongside Clone Wars as well. Clone Wars is okay. We did enjoy Rebels a bit more, and that kind of led into, the live action shows, which we have been recently catching up on and have been expressing our thoughts after every episode to each other. And honestly, it's typically quite profound, quite well thought out, I think, at least, when it comes to our critique of some of these shows, like The Mandalorian, like the Obi-Wan show, like Book of Boba Fett. Unfortunately, we just, kept that to ourselves, and we didn't really think to record or think to do anything with it. But recently, I did feel like it would be fun if we did decide to take down or at least our thoughts of some of the shows that we watch and express that, and maybe there's some people that are interested in that sort of thing. Maybe we can find some like-minded individuals, or even have some more critical thinking in regards to some of the content that we've been watching in terms of Star Wars, even if some of it is it's it's a bit of a shame that we did kind of miss out. I feel like we had a lot to say when it comes to especially The Mandalorian, for example. The first season we enjoyed quite thoroughly. Second one, very much less so, to the point where I would say it was below average. Third season we brought it back until the end of the show, and then we
No, season 3 of Mandalorian ended at episode 5. I don't know what you're talking about.
Episode 5 was when season 3 peaked, and then after that it was just trash.
No, it ended. There were no more episodes. I don't know why. They just made very short season. It ended in 5 episodes.
Only 5 episodes. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Only 5 episodes. So we did decide to come in to record our thoughts and to discuss some Star Wars as opposed to the regular StarCraft that we usually cover on the CranKy Ducklings. Now, speaking of impromptu, unfortunately, we're already halfway through the show that we're currently watching. That is the Ahsoka season 1 show. We're already 5 episodes in. Honestly, I feel like it would have been really good to have recorded our thoughts for the first couple of episodes, because I feel like they were quite profound, quite critical, quite well thought out. And it's kind of weird, jumping in mid-season when it comes to us expressing ourselves, because there's very little context that people are going to have coming into this.
Yes, that's why I was going to bring up that we should probably preface this with what our preferences in Star Wars are in the first place. So as you said, I really enjoyed Mandalorian season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2 was meh. Season 3 was okay up to episode 5. Those are solid. I loved Rebels, particularly the first 2 seasons of Rebels. I think are the best Star Wars show. I love them. I know there are various opinions on them, but those are my favorite. Then season 3, specifically the Sabine episodes, are really, really good.
I think they're the only good episodes of season 3, to be fair.
They're the only good. Yes, they're the only good episodes of season. But what I mean, they are actually pretty good. They are solid. The whole show is, solid. But those were the parts that I like, because I also heard opinions oh, it starts on season 3. No. Season 3 is a mess. Don't worry about it. Anyway, Rebels is probably my favorite show out of Star Wars, just because of how it's constructed, because of its characters, because each character has their role, the whole show is them interacting each other. Sure, you have the general plot of this character has this mission, this character is trying to do this thing, but in general it's more about the people and less about their purpose, to put it that way. That it's not this grand adventure of oh, you're gonna become the most powerful XYZ, So yeah, I just wanted to give that as an idea, what kind of mind we're coming into these shows with.
Yeah, especially Ahsoka, because for those who don't know, Ahsoka is basically the continuation of Rebels, right? It takes a lot of those same characters, and we get to have a bit of a time skip forward, and we follow the story of those characters. That's why we bring up Rebels a little bit more here, more so than previously. And we find out we find out what happened to some of these characters and what they've done with some of these
No, no. I
characters.
okay.
Uh
To sum it up very quickly
huh.
to what we've been. I think we should talk like a general summary of what we watched in Ahsoka. Just a summary.
Season 1 to 4. Sorry, episode 1 to 4. Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Like just general idea. But I consider the Ahsoka live action non-canon, some
Hmm.
kind of weird fan fiction thing because it does not even match the past events. So it's just yeah, I'm completely disconnected the two. This is no continuation in my mind.
Yeah, this is why it's a bit of a shame that we decided to start recording halfway through the season, because like we came to a certain realization quite quickly, and especially covering episodes like 1 and episode 2, in regards to the construction of the show, in regards to the writing as well. It to us it felt like the people behind the writing department of this season, of these characters, they kind of missed the point of a bunch of like character beats and a bunch of the characters themselves, referring to Sabine, referring to Hera, referring to even Ahsoka as well, in regards to what made them so good and what made their shows work and the kind of characters that they are. And they've taken them and they've kind of done what they want with them to the point where it clashes with what the character was set up to be themselves, especially with the fact that I brought this up a lot, especially in the first episodes, was the fact that this is a time skip as well. So characters from the last we saw them in
And
Rebels needed to have grown as characters and become more of what they were, and it feels like some of the characters have regressed in a certain sense, and it
and
doesn't really fit
feel
canonically with where the characters are portrayed in Ahsoka
yeah.
with where they were previously in Rebels.
But I feel like it's also important to point out that this is not the time scale of like months of like, year or two. This is like a decade.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
all these people are supposed to be 10 years older than they
yeah,
were. And then we know that exactly because of the age of some children, of like
hmm,
some events that are being mentioned. So we know that it's been a decade.
yeah, yeah. And it's and again, the other thing that's a bit of a shame that we're jumping in kind of mid-season when it comes to what we're discussing is that at this point, at this point in the season, Kuro was mentioning this earlier. Kuro at least is very much so disconnected from the show itself. It's like
Yeah.
it's already
I'm
gone
like,
too far. It's like
yeah, it's I mean, it's gone too far in episode one, honestly. Like from the start, like it triggered me in all possible ways. But I reached the point where I'm just like so desensitized to it that I'm
Mhm.
just like, yeah, things are happening. Cool,
Yeah,
thumbs up, moving on.
it is a shame. Like meta wise, like actually I was curious about a couple of certain things, and we even had some of the Rebels writers come out and like disown or distance themselves from Ahsoka and be like, "Hey, like we wrote for Rebels, and we were not consulted with when it comes to like story decisions about the Ahsoka TV show, and we ourselves were surprised at decisions made, and it doesn't make any sense, and they
You
feel
know
like it
what?
doesn't fit, and it's like what the hell happened, like what."
You know what? You know what? I'm actually very glad that you mentioned that because I didn't know that. I didn't look it up
Mhm.
because I don't really look up this kind of stuff. But I am very happy to hear that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I was shocked just how poorly the direction is going here in terms of like as you said, like just basically it. A lot of the show feels like somebody got like like a 2 sentence summary of
Mhm,
who the character is and just based the entire show off of that,
mhm.
like for a lot of these characters where like they
Yeah.
didn't like actually like know these characters, but it feels like somebody was given a summary of a character and was just working from that. So I'm very happy to hear that like the original writers actually you know have noticed that this is how this is not like the same writers just decided to do whatever, but like actually this is different people and they don't agree with what's happening.
Yeah, and it's also a shame that they were not involved, right? It feels like a no-brainer that if you
No,
don't
yeah, yeah.
have the same writers as Rebels, then at least have them brought on as like consultants when it comes to like the creative department and the direction of the story, because they know the characters more than anyone else, right? So like and especially if you're using those characters, it makes sense to reference that and to hear from that. So to have this show be constructed independently, I mean it shows to the portrayal of the characters, it shows to the story that's being written, and it's weird. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense that they wouldn't involve them in some way, that they wouldn't consult them. Yeah, it's disappointing that that's kind of
Yeah.
the direction that they took the show, or how they made the show.
Especially since I mean Okay, this is a question to you because again, you are more like in the know on this kind of stuff. Is Rebels like generally considered a well liked show?
Oh, that I don't. You say I'm not involved in like Star Wars communities. Like I don't
No,
know the
but like
general
you look up like
consensus.
some kind of articles and like you actually read on that kind of stuff, like outside of just the story
Sure.
itself.
I think a lot of people, like, obviously when it comes to mainstream consensus, a lot of it is very surface level and very shallow. I think a lot of people didn't like the art style of Rebels. I know that is like a very common thing that is brought up compared to like Clone Wars. Like they like the look and the visual look of Clone Wars a lot more than Rebels. I think you spoke about it a little bit if you remember, like the portrayal of, like the clones, like Rex and stuff, how like proportionally like they're very different and
Yeah.
very weird.
No,
Like and mhm,
I remember it took me a bit to get used to the Rebels art style, but
mhm.
once I did, I think it actually looks fine.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
It's
So,
not that
I,
bad.
I know that's like a big, like again, like service level critique of it, which doesn't go in depth as to the writing or the characters themselves. Um, I, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the consensus is regarding Rebels. I know
Because I was
a lot of people really, because it's very fan servicey, of course. Even though we think it's one of the low points of Rebels, and it is, I would say, one of the low points of Rebels. A
mhm.
lot of people really like the Maul Obi-Wan confrontation because they finally got to
That's the
see that.
worst.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah, yeah,
That's that's the I'm trying to think because I'm sure there is something else, but I
yeah.
think the Obi-Wan and Maul confrontation in Rebels is
Hmm.
the worst scene of the entire show.
Yeah, I agree. I
I think
agree.
just straight up that's the worst of entire show, like the lowest point.
And I think a lot of people they don't think about like what it means and what it means for the characters, what it means for
Yeah.
the show itself. I think a lot of people take it at, again, at very surface level and be like, oh, isn't it cool that Obi-Wan and Maul fight again after so many years? When
It was not
when it's like when it takes away from the character of Maul that they were building up, right?
Yeah, because
The character
okay.
devolves into something like that's more. Like we spoke about at length when we watched it initially, but devolving the
Yeah.
character to the point where they would even care about getting revenge when it's this long and this far away, and when the whole point of the
Oh, there
character
was more than that.
was that didn't even matter. Was that there was like
Yes.
there was a greater goal, a greater purpose that they were working towards, and like that was all just cast aside and just wasted. There's a
Hold
huge
on, there
reason as
was
to
more. There
why
was more.
season 3 of
There was
Rebels
more.
was like one of the worst written shows.
It was not just that it made no sense for Walt to want revenge after all these years. It was not just that. I remember specifically that like Maul
Yeah, I
gets
remember.
defeated. Spoilers for those who didn't watch Rebels. Go watch Rebels. It's a generally good show, except for this part.
Uh-huh.
But he was like, "Oh, is he the chosen one?" And like, at this point, I'm just like, just face palming and leaving this. Like that's exactly why I pointed out that I like the first two seasons because it's about the people and not about like this
Mhm.
great legend or whatever. Like it.
Yeah.
I don't like when it gets too grand because then it becomes kind of boring and samey with everything else. What was interesting was that like, you know, you have this person, she's like a pilot, and she's like trying to help the rebellion. You have this person, oh, he's like a former Jedi, but like Jedi are no more, so he's like trying to figure out the life and like kind of hiding, kind of not knowing what to do. Oh, you have this person, oh, this is a kid, he has the Force, and now he's being taught, but they actually don't know how to teach him. So that, like, you have
Mhm.
all these people just trying to figure out how to function in the world they are in. So when you make it like too grand, it kind of loses the charm for me.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, it's also, I would say, especially for Rebels, I think the other interesting thing about it was also a little bit more disconnected from the main story. That's one of the things we liked about Mandalorian
Yeah.
as well, where it's like they're off doing their own thing. You don't have to connect it with like with what's happening with like Obi-Wan and Luke and all this stuff. Like you can have their own story in their own part of the galaxy. The world of Star Wars should be big enough to allow for that sort of thing,
Yes,
and to tie it
exactly.
in.
Like this is supposed to be an entire galaxy.
Yeah, 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 and that's one of the big issues with season 3 is that they do tie it in a lot more heavily with everything else that's going on in the
No,
grander
no, no.
tale that's being told.
It was funnier than that because it was not just tied to the main series. It was like, oh, he saw a vision of Luke on Tatooine. Oh,
Yeah,
he has to go see him. I'm like, why?
yeah,
There's absolutely zero reason for him to do that.
yeah, yeah. It's
Like,
where
there's no reason for that plot point to exist in the first place when there are other things they could be doing.
regardless, we're here to talk about Ahsoka, not Rebels. Again, it does tie into it, of course, in its own way. And when it comes to the Ahsoka show, we kind of briefly touched on it as well. We are very much so against the portrayal of. I mean, I you can see here when it comes to the graphics being used, the biggest offense to Kuro is Hera. The biggest offense to me is Sabine
Yes,
when it comes to the portrayal of these two characters. I think we both agree that they're portrayed in some of the worst possible ways that doesn't fit with the
yes.
characters themselves. But we both feel a little bit more stronger for one character or the other.
Yes, Hera is I said it before and I'm gonna keep repeating it. Hera from Rebels is probably one of my, if not the favorite character of Star Wars right now.
Mhm,
Like she's great. She's just
mhm,
great. Because on one hand they made her like, the rebel, the pilot, like, she wants to like do the right thing and she wants to be part of the rebel and so on and so forth. But they also emphasize that like she's very like understanding of everything is happening. Like look, her partner is literally a former Jedi who's like trying to figure out this shit, and she's always like understanding of him, and like he talks to her about it as well.
mhm.
Like that's the interesting part, that like they have like this kind of connection. And then we arrive at the first episode of Ahsoka, and this imposter of Hera sees a clip of some people fighting lightsabers. He's like, "Huh, Ahsoka, they have the same skills as you. I've never seen that before." I'm
Uh-huh.
like, really?
Yeah, I mean, we in the past we already discussed like the what the show could have been, how the character should have been portrayed. Like, I still feel strongly that it would have been nicer if it was like a nice celebration of the rebels characters in the sense of this grander story arc of bringing back Ezra being the main focal point of the show, and the idea of Ahsoka kind of like gathering the team again, gathering Zeb, gathering Sabine, gathering Hera, and even Hera's son now and Chopper, all together to try to bring Ezra back. They opted not to. They did their own thing. Of course, they decided to have Ahsoka have a relationship with Sabine, like a master and apprentice sort of thing, which again goes against kind of like the whole setup of Sabine being a
Uh,
Mandalorian, glossing over the fact that Mandalore fell during the time skip, and we don't even know how her involvement in that, whether she was a part of that, whether she wasn't, how that affected her as well. Like, that's the other thing that's really weird, is that this is a time skip. This A bunch of events have happened, a bunch of events that should have affected these characters quite greatly, whether it's the rise and fall of Mandalore, whether it's the death of Darth Vader, the death of Anakin, and how that affects Ahsoka as well. Like, all these things happen, but none of that is touched on. None of that is really addressed. You just move on from that, and you kind of use they set up their characters in a very different way, and it feels disconnected, but it's supposed to be connected with everything else that's happened. Like, it's really,
yeah, like
it's not a
it
choice.
feels like they keep dropping these things like, hey, do you remember this? Hey, do you remember that? But like the story itself is not connected in any way, so this means nothing. Like
Mhm.
there's no context for those things happening sometimes.
Yeah.
Like they drop some names, they drop some events happening. In this very episode, as we will talk about in a bit, I'm sure. In episode 5, they drop the name of Kanan Jarrus, and this is the first time they mention Kanan. Fun fact.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you do not deserve to mention the name. Get off.
Yeah. I guess touching on what Chris said earlier, I think unfortunately, I think Ahsoka might be the would it. I think it might be the worst live action show we've seen so far in regards to
No,
Star Wars. Like,
no, Obi-Wan is worse.
oh, I
Let's
was
be honest.
I was
Obi-Wan
I
is
was gonna
worse.
say that at least Boba Fett was more entertaining as a show
Yeah, so
than
Boba Fett
this.
was entertaining. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Boba Fett had its good moments. Like the whole Tusken thing was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a clown fiesta as a whole when it comes to the show itself.
Yeah, no, the show itself, yes, but it had its
Mhm.
moments.
Yeah, it had its moments. I think I would disagree. I think Obi-Wan is more enjoyable than this. I think obviously the biggest issue with it. I say
Mm,
that obviously, like, I'm
I
like
think
the
I
issue.
think Obi-Wan
Obviously,
is
the biggest issue was Reva and the portrayal of Reva's character. That is
yeah.
true, but I don't think. But Reva was not as prevalent as
What
the
about
characters here.
baby Leia running away from everybody constantly?
No, yeah, yeah, yeah.
What baby Leia knowing everything about anything?
There's a lot of bad in everyone's show. There is, but there was some good Obi-Wan moments, like in the show itself, that I appreciated at least. I don't
I
think
just feel
I don't think there are anywhere near as many redeeming qualities in this show than in the Obi-Wan show.
I mm, I wonder if that's like I wonder if that's because we know so much more context for the Rebels show, and like and like because Ahsoka is just annoying because we know that it doesn't fit. Where like with Obi-Wan, they kind of just made the story and it's whatever.
I mean, it depends. Like, we haven't finished the show yet, so we don't. So it's hard.
Is there a
It
second? Oh,
it
okay, I mean
so
Ahsoka. Okay.
yeah, the season. Like, we haven't finished the season yet, so it's hard to really pin it down so far.
Hmm.
But that leads us into the episode itself. Episode 5, Shadow Warrior. So this was, I think every episode so far has had something interesting about it that you
Mhm.
can delve into, that they touch on, that they even tease, but they don't go into it at all, which is weird. So this entire episode was basically a big episode with Ahsoka kind of encountering Anakin once again and having a bit of introspection, but not.
Here's a
That's the
question.
weird part.
Yeah, here's a question. Was that Ahsoka meeting the ghost of Anakin, or was that just in Ahsoka's head? Because I do not understand what actually happened.
Yeah, I think it could be both. It could be both or just one. Obviously, it's not left. It's left a little bit more ambiguous here.
Okay, let me rephrase that.
Mhm.
If this is genuinely Ahsoka going to the astral plane, whatever they call it,
Mhm.
and meeting a ghost Anakin and having this whole thing, and she's like, "I choose to leave," and she goes back to life, we're gonna have some very harsh words, okay?
Mhm. Yeah.
And
So.
you know why? Because that's the part that triggered me in the finale of Rebels, where Ahsoka back then was also revived,
Mhm.
and for that to happen twice,
Sure. I mean, I think we would take this literally. Like, we know that Anakin's Force Ghost is a thing, right? Like, this is
yeah, yeah.
post Return of the Jedi. I think the biggest issue that I have with this entire episode is the whole concept of the episode itself. I think there's something interesting, and there's a missed opportunity that you could have had here when it comes to Ahsoka meeting Anakin again as a Force Ghost, right? Because we know that he is a Force Ghost, right? We saw that in Return of the Jedi, which means he's technically he can appear to Ahsoka and they can interact, and wisdom can be
Hmm.
imparted. The issue that I had with this was the whole what was the purpose, like, as in,
Yes, I did not understand.
yeah, because I didn't fully understand. Obviously, like, it's a bunch of fan service and they're doing a bunch of flashbacks. So what was the point of her meeting him? Apparently the lesson that was the quote unquote lesson that he taught her, because he's like, hey, like, because the idea of having a moment of her meeting Anakin and Anakin helping her and guiding her in some way, I think that's a good thing. I think that's really cool. I think that's really interesting. But here, apparently she was lacking conviction, right? Like, that was the whole point, is that
Like
she was
that's
lacking
the thing she was
lacking
lacking.
motivation. It's like, and that was the conclusion of this whole scene, is that apparently she was lacking conviction and motivation to push forward into whatever mission she has, and Anakin imparted that on her and imprinted that on her. But you never got the impression that she was lacking that leading into this, right? Like,
Yeah.
the issue is that whatever it happens to be, whether it's conviction, whether it's some other part of, like, something else, and we'll get into that a little bit more later as to what you can impart onto Ahsoka. The setup is important. You need to the lead up to Ahsoka falling down the cliff face needed to have shown something there. There needed to have been some doubt or some reason why she failed. And then that leads into her getting training, or her meeting Anakin to address what just happened, right? To address her failing and why she failed. Whether it's, maybe she gets emotional, right? Like, maybe something happens there, or maybe something happens with Sabine, and she's having a hard time being a mentor to someone because she never really graduated and became a master, right? And so maybe she has some inner conflict there, when it comes to teaching Sabine how to be a fighter, or teaching her anything really, or it could be something related to the Force or whatever. Like have some kind of conflicts, have some kind of obstacle for her that she fails to overcome, and then she fails, and then she falls down the cliff, and then this addresses that. But there was none of that in the previous episode. I mean, like, in the previous episode, there was no unless you can think of something, like there was nothing
I have
apparent.
one idea.
There was no when it comes to like what was shown, like there was nothing
Yeah,
apparent
that's what
there.
I mean.
There was nothing apparent shown when it comes to why she lost, why she failed, and why she needs like a big intervention, like a big ghost intervention of whatever just happened. Like there was no
So
setup. That's the
what
biggest issue that I
I
have.
what I think they think is the setup, follow me, is when Ahsoka says, "Oh, I walked on Anakin just like I walked out on Sabine," and that's the setup.
But that didn't happen when she was fighting the
Yes,
guy.
that's what I mean. Like, I think that's what they think is the setup. But not only did it happen a while ago, but like she already was trying to fix that. So
Mm.
you wouldn't say that like that's something that she needs to be taught right
Yeah, yeah.
now.
Like whatever struggle she has to have been a part of the encounter that she had with, what's the guy's name? With Lord Balin. That's it, Balin, right?
Balin, I think something like that.
Yeah, it had to have been prevalent in her encounter with Lord Balin as to why she failed in that encounter, right? And then it gets addressed, but there was nothing, right? Like there was nothing apparent, like nothing. There was no inner conflict or outer conflicts or something that impacted that fight that made her fail there, right? There was nothing shown, there was nothing portrayed,
Yeah,
so there's a
yeah.
weird disconnect, like storytelling wise. Like there's no connection from episode to episode. It's just suddenly she's encountering Anakin, and suddenly he's like, you Ahsoka, clearly you lack empathy. I'm a teacher empathy. It's like, what? It's like that had nothing to do with what just happened, right? Like he can say whatever, but like it doesn't matter
Yeah.
because it's just
It
there's
does,
no
it does
connection.
not connect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the issue with this entire episode, because the whole episode is based on her meeting Anakin again after so long, and him trying to help her grow as a person, but that growth doesn't connect with the conflict
Also,
that's happening right now. Like it doesn't make any sense.
just in general, like I'm thinking about the character of Ahsoka, even in this show alone, and I would I don't think I would say conviction was the thing she was lacking.
Yeah, it
Like she
wasn't. It
was
wasn't.
very sure of what she was
That's
doing.
the thing, right? Like that's what I mean. Like whatever is said here, there is no connection with the story that's being told. But at no point do you believe that she's like second guessing herself, or she's unsure of herself, or she doesn't know what she's doing necessarily. Like obviously there was some lines about how she's not a master, right? But this doesn't address that. Where she felt like she couldn't teach Sabine how to be anything, but like that wasn't addressed here either. Like that's the thing. Like there's so much that you can explore here. Something that they teased that I thought they were going to go into, which would have been a really cool setup episodes ago, would have been the idea of in this period in time, Ahsoka, she knows now that Anakin is Vader because they found that in Rebels, if you remember. And the idea of her having some weird inner conflict about the idea of Vader, someone who's a mass murderer and just an awful person, taught her everything that she knows, and like an inner fear that she would become something like him because of that, or some, like you can explore
I mean,
some interesting kind of like avenues of plots or of character progression,
I
but
was gonna
they didn't
say,
do any of that. They touched on it a little bit here. There was like one or two lines, but then they moved on.
yeah,
And it's like
I was
that's
gonna
interesting to me at least.
I was gonna say they kind of also teased it, if you remember, in the Mandalorian. Was it
Mm-hmm.
season 2? I'm not sure. Like where
Mm-hmm.
Ahsoka first meets Grogu, she's like, "Oh, like he's afraid. Like I've seen, I can't train him because because I've seen what it does." I'm like, that could be like some good material for like her personal like PTSD kind of thing.
Yeah, like that's interesting. Is to give her that kind of PTSD, to have her be maybe more secluded and make it that she's like cut off from the Force, and she cut herself off because she's afraid of what she might become, because of what happened to Anakin, who she looked up to, who she trusted, and then he turned out to be like an awful person that killed kids. Right, like how, like you can do that, or you can do the other thing, which is that she never became a proper master, and now she suddenly has someone that she's trying to teach, but she doesn't know how to teach because she never really learned that, and she's kind of figuring things out by herself, and which to be fair is kind of retreading Kanan, right? Because Kanan did that with
Yes,
Ezra.
exactly.
So
that was the whole appeal of that.
that was the whole appeal of Kanan and Ezra. So if they wanted to, they could just do that all over again. Like, screw it, right? But with Ahsoka and Sabine instead. Like, if they really wanted to, they can have that kind of parallel.
But
But if they, you know what? If they did that, then you can have Hera come in as a more mother figure and a more mentor figure and be like, hey, I've already seen how this turns out and what happens. And she can help that sort of, and she can even mentor Ahsoka if they
yes.
wanted to, right? If they want to go that route. But they didn't do any of that. Like, those aren't the only two options either. There's other things that you can do as well if you really wanted to.
This is
When it comes to Ahsoka, even pushing away from Jedi, wanting to learn how to be a Force user in her own way, and now maybe she's unsure of that, and then Anakin shows up and he's like, "Hey, like I didn't really listen to Obi-Wan too much, and I know that like I ended up falling to the dark side at some point, but like." That's not me anymore, you know, and there's other ways to approach, you know, to approach this kind of life, and there's no Jedi Order anymore. You can do things your own way, and you can do without. Like, there's so many different better
we
storylines that you can
okay.
go for if you want, but they're not doing any of it. They're doing none of it.
So we were talking about this in the very first episode.
Uh,
But the very first weird thing that happens in the Ahsoka show is that Ahsoka introduces herself. I mean, not introduces her, but Ahsoka apparently is a Jedi Master and
mm,
takes a Jedi apprentice Padawan,
yeah,
where she herself walked out of the Jedi Order. I mean, she was kicked, but she didn't accept and invite back. Whatever.
mm,
She never became a Jedi Master officially, and she was upset about the whole ordeal. She did
mm,
not like the Jedi Order because of what happened, like as an institution. So it makes no sense for Ahsoka to want to be a Jedi and teach other people to be specifically a Jedi in the first place,
mm.
unless they somehow make her get there in her, like, psychological journey.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's another thing they could have done as well if they wanted to, because you're correct in saying that there's no reason for Ahsoka to be enamored with the idea of becoming a Jedi anymore. She should be disillusioned with that. But if they really want her to be a Jedi and really want her to kind of like push that kind of that ideology, and if they want to make her like that, then they can. But they need to set that up in this. They should set that up in the show, right? This show should be about her maybe finding her way back and being like, hey, you know, I strayed away from this, but like right now this is what the world needs or whatever. And maybe like I or you don't personally enjoy the idea of her going back to that, but maybe that's her story arc or whatever, and then Anakin helps her with that. Like, whatever, like just do something. They're not doing anything.
Yeah, but
They
just
just
connect the dots
they
so it
could, yeah,
actually makes sense that
exactly.
she would end up in this like place.
Yeah.
Because right now we have Ahsoka who doesn't want to be a Jedi, and then suddenly in the next show we see she is a Jedi and she's doing Jedi things.
Mhm. Even though I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the show, she emphasize that she's not a Jedi as well. Like in the first
I
episode,
mean,
pretty sure there was a scene like that where she
okay,
outright said that she
okay,
wasn't.
she says she that's why I stopped myself from saying that she introduced herself. But like she
Yeah,
says she's not a Jedi, but she's flying a
yeah,
Jedi ship and she
yeah.
has a Padawan who she calls Padawan
Yeah,
and she calls her master. And
uh,
like so basically you're using everything like that belongs to Jedi, just we're just not called Jedi, you know?
yeah. It's just like contradicting like ideas here. Like, do you want her to be one way? Do you not want her to be one way? Like, it's yeah, it's weird. It's and if you're going to go a direction with this character, then you need to set it up. You need to be able to say that and tell that story, and they haven't, right? They just kind of skipped over it, and she's just this way now. But going back to the episode again, like that's the biggest issue with the entire episode is dedicated. Basically, the entire episode is dedicated to her flashback and her encounter with Anakin, but all of that fell flat to me. I'm afraid that again, there's like people out there that like that enjoy the fan service of like, oh look, it's live action Clone Wars because it shows the flashback of them in Clone Wars and stuff. But like there was no depth there. Like there was nothing deeper than that. It's like, oh cool, like they're showing some flashback
Yeah.
of Clone Wars and some flashback of like the Siege of Mandalore. But like again, like the thing that's meant to be connecting everything together, the whole point of why she's there is lacking, right? It's frail. Like it isn't a strong story that's being told, in the sense that like the whole point of what we were saying, she has nothing that she's being taught here. Like there's why is she encountering Anakin here? They don't give a good
See,
reason for it. They don't give a good reason. They don't give a good lesson that's being taught. They don't give a good setup here. So then everything falls flat.
see, one thing I did like about this flashback, and
Mhm.
again, it would be nice if that was like kind of maybe the hook that they would
Yeah.
like get, was when they showed the Siege of Mandalore, and I think it was, or maybe it was the other one, but whatever. When Anakin is like, trying to teach her, she's like, "No, why are we fighting? I thought we were like, keeping peace and stuff." And like that's an interesting take where like, the Jedi were
Yeah.
introduced as the peacekeepers and that they are taking part in the war, and like she doesn't understand why they are now at war. Like, and like take this where like the times required them to be warriors now, like as in like soldiers, and that's not something that they were originally like not even trained for, but like that wasn't the original purpose. And like I feel like that's an interesting angle to tackle here, but they just left that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, is that there were a lot of things that they very lightly touched on that they could have made the episode about, but they didn't. Right. When it comes to that, right, the idea of Jedi, like again, like all the flashbacks made no sense, like as in the purpose of them, right? Like I didn't even know what that had to do anything with conviction. I don't think it did. But like as you said, like the idea of what Jedi are, right? That could lead into a debate between the two of them and have some kind of conversation between like what Jedi are meant to be and who she is and what is necessary in the times, because that was in a time of war, and now we're not, because it's meant to be a time of peace, because the Empire is meant to be no more at the moment. So like what is her purpose? Maybe you can go for that angle when it comes to the show itself, right? This is post fall of the Empire. Maybe she has no purpose anymore, right? Like, do we need a
I mean, it's
fulcrum
true.
anymore? But they don't.
True,
But they,
because Ahsoka was like essentially raised as a soldier because she
yeah,
was like a teenager when the war was happening.
yeah, yeah. But again, they don't do anything with that. They don't delve into any of those ideas. So it's just so because of that, like everything, including Ahsoka and Anakin, to me had no depth to it, and it just had no real purpose, and it felt like a waste of time. Like I was very unsatisfied personally with everything that was happening there, because there was no substance to it, because there was no lead up, there was no trajectory as to what was meant to be learned and what was done, and more importantly, to me, it feels like a waste, because personally, I like the idea of, especially because Anakin is set up as a Force ghost now, of Ahsoka speaking to Anakin and asking for advice or asking for direction, guidance, right? Or like given like the position that she's in, but they didn't do anything with it. So it feels like I would have loved this earlier, even in the show, right? In like episode 1, episode 2, the idea of him giving her a little bit more direction and giving her a little bit more guidance
See,
as to where to go, and then she takes that and runs with it. But instead they waste it here. Nothing is really learned, nothing is really gained. There's a bunch of fan service of Clone War era stuff, and there was just nothing here, and I'm afraid that's the last we're going to see. And it was like, oh, we just wasted the opportunity of using this character and having these two interact. Like I feel like there was nothing here.
see, now that you mention it, there's even more to it. I mean, you kind of mentioned it before, but you could also have like the like first half of the show be like
Mhm.
Ahsoka, for one reason or another, seeing Anakin's ghost, but like she's still conflicted because of what happened with Vader and stuff. And like,
Yeah.
sure, he's a Force ghost, but like, is he this person? Is he this person? Like, who am I actually talking to? And this stuff like that could be an interesting like plot along the show where like where like she's trying to understand if this person talking to her from the again from being dead like is even like somebody she wants to listen to and stuff like that.
I would have started the season with it. I think episode 1 would have been good, like, because the show is meant to be Ahsoka. Have her, and then set up whatever inner conflict that she has. Have her encounter Anakin. They go through their interactions. Then she gets her. Then from there, then you can move on with the story, and then that's when she becomes motivated, or she becomes headstrong, or she pushes towards her mission or goal of finding Ezra and finding Thrawn and all that stuff, and then she
You
goes
know
and
what?
she finds Sabine and Hera and everything. But I would have started Ahsoka by herself, and then Ahsoka encountering Anakin's ghost by themselves first, before leading into the rest of the story. Like I feel like
And then you can have the whole conviction thing, because I mean we don't know what she has been doing for the past 10 years. Maybe
yeah,
she was doing nothing. Maybe she was like trying things and like giving up very quickly.
yeah.
And then you can like pull that like conviction thing where she decides, okay, I'm actually gonna get stuff together and actually do something.
Yeah, if you wanted to be, I feel like conviction is a very weak thing to do, and I feel like there's better things
It
to do. But
is,
if you wanted to do
particularly
the
for
whole,
Ahsoka,
if
it
you wanted to
is.
do the whole conviction thing, then you can go the route of like, okay, you know, she's like a war veteran. She helped in the rebellion. The rebellion won. The New Republic is established now, and now she doesn't know what to do with her life. And now she has no purpose, and she's, you know, she's half-assing everything, and her heart isn't in it when it comes to what she's doing because she doesn't know what to do. And maybe she feels like she failed because Ezra's gone, and then something happens where she gets like she hears something about potentially something related to Ezra, and he's somewhere out there, and the Empire's getting involved, and then she goes and figures out what's going on. Like I don't know, you can do again. There are so many different ways that you can write this show, and so many directions that you can take when it comes to that. Personally, I still like the idea of her having inner conflict about being raised by Darth Vader. I think that's more interesting to me,
Yeah, yeah.
as a character. So you could have done more with that. But regardless, they did none of that, and there's just nothing here. And it was just, I feel like I just wasted 45 minutes of my life. Like there was nothing.
And that's
This
why
was
you decided to talk about it on the
exactly,
internet.
exactly. This was to me at least. I don't know your thoughts, but to me, this was an empty episode. Like there was nothing here. Like
Yes.
it was
Oh
such a
no, no,
shame.
no. There was.
It's worse than empty because I feel like it could have been full of something, but it wasn't full of
Yeah, I was
anything.
gonna say it's. I don't think it was even an empty episodes. There were a lot of things where I was like, haha, I see what they're doing here, but like not for the reason that they think. To
Hmm.
put it that way, I was like, oh, do you hear the clones? I think the clones are using the actor of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Like stuff like I noticed stuff like that, but like the actual story was like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't know why she ended up there. We didn't get anything from that whole interaction,
Mm-hmm.
and then she's back. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, I think this just shows how weak the writing is for the
Mm,
show, because I would imagine that they wanted the set piece of her meeting Anakin in like the interdimensional plane. They wanted the Clone Wars flashback. They wanted the Siege of Mandalore flashback. Like they wanted these set pieces, but the reason why they're there, and the reason why everything is happening, and the reason why they're showing off these older set pieces, and there's that fight between Ahsoka and Anakin, all of that's meant to be connecting everything, it's not there. Like and that's what makes a good writer, right? That's where you, as a writer, you have to be able to weave all this together and tell your story and tell your narrative.
yeah,
That was the weakest part. So like whoever was directing and shooting and stuff, they're like, oh, we want to show these cool things, how do we connect them? It's conviction
it's
or whatever.
memories. It's memories. It's all hazy.
No, it's even worse than that. It's just, it's what's the reason for all this? It's she lacks conviction for some reason. It's like, what? It's like, we never
Yeah,
set that up. It's like, don't worry about it. The people that watch this, they forgot about episode 4, so they'll just believe what you say
yeah,
anyway. Like as long as you say it, that is the case. When that's like the weakest way of writing, because you're telling them that she was lacking conviction even though you never showed that. Um, so yeah, that was a shame. It was just a shame. A shame because I feel like they could have done a lot more with this. With the idea of having her interact with Anakin again. Yeah.
yeah,
Do you have any other
yeah.
thoughts on that before moving on to the second half of the episode, which is them finding space whales?
Let me think. How angry do you want me to be about Jason?
What about Jason? Well, poor old mate Jason.
No,
Uh,
it just is. It just
uh,
is. Remember how in the first episode,
mhm.
like Hera wouldn't mention what happened, like on Lothal, and like,
Uh-huh.
oh yeah, these people with swords. Yeah, I have no idea. The Jedi, I think that's what they're called. And then Jason walks into the scene. I'm like, I think she knows some Jedi.
Sure. When it comes to Jason here, once again, it's
Okay, no, I know what I wanted to actually talk about because this was just the digression. But this is something they established with Sabine, that they're saying everybody can be a Jedi now.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have a scene where
I was
Jason
gonna bring
stands
that
on
up.
the edge, and I hear lightsaber. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like the kid probably has the Force, and then Hera can hear the lightsaber. I'm like, hold on.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that's how it works.
Well, no, I thought you were going to say something else. So something that I wrote down actually is: does lineage matter or not? That isn't the issue. The issue is that, as you said, like when it comes to Star Wars, they're trying to make it more that like anyone can be a Jedi, and that's why they suddenly want to make Sabine like Force sensitive or potentially have the ability to. I would imagine the climax of this show is going to be her using the Force, because they're setting up that she can't. So that's typically where you want to take a show like this, writing wise. So they want to say that anyone can be a Jedi and anyone can use the Force, but at the same time, when they ask like, oh, like how can he do this? Do you remember the
Yeah,
droid? He says specifically like, oh, his father was a Jedi. Like that's why he
yeah.
can do
His
it.
father is a
So
Jedi, so
so
he
it's
can do
like,
it.
wait, hold on. I thought that didn't matter. So I guess it does matter. Like as in he said it in a way that it's like, oh yeah, no, yeah, his dad's a Jedi, so he must be able to use the Force. Like so apparently it does matter. Like it's just they keep reminding you that. So sorry, that's the issue, is that they keep wanting to do both things. They would keep wanting to say, anyone can be a Jedi, but also, if your parents are Jedis, then you're a Jedi too, because apparently it does matter actually, like who you're related to and all that stuff. Like they want to do both here, and they keep reminding you about it as well, like one and then the other. It's like I would say it's poor writing, just because you don't. I would say that you don't want to bring attention to it. Like if you want to do it a certain way, then don't bring attention to the alternative or something contradicting it. Otherwise, like it makes you think about that when you're watching the show, and it's like, hold on, like you're trying to portray a certain message, but then you keep bringing up the alternative, and it just
Yeah,
clashes within
like
the
they
show.
contradict themselves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was the thing that stood out to me the most, about that. Uh, and then they just go inside the whale, and they're being sent to places, which is whatever. I don't know. To me, it felt like they were just
I would.
padding the episode out with all of that. They spent a lot of time on the
It
whale
was
stuff.
very. I would say it was very long, like
Hmm.
longer than it should have been. But
Yeah,
also, I was like, do they even need to go inside the whale?
it's fine. That's fine. It doesn't matter. It's whatever.
Because the way Ezra traveled was that the whale just like grabbed the ship and they just flew. They don't have to be inside the whale.
That's it's just a visual thing. They just thought it looked cool to go
But
inside
I
a
think
whale.
the whale is gonna eat. You know,
No, it's fine. They only eat
like is
space
it just
krill.
gonna starve on the way?
They only eat space krill. It's fine. It'll be spat back out. They'll come out of the blowhole. It's fine.
No. You don't understand. Like the filter is on the front.
Hmm. It's
Like
fine.
if they're already inside, the whale is swallowing
That's
them.
the least important thing of the episode. That's fine. Something that was really weird is which they keep doing is they keep making people incompetent. This is a smaller side note, is that the idea that it happened in the previous episode when they keep making Hera have like really bad arguments where she gets
Mm,
called up on the phone, and you have the leader of the Republic or whatever, and she's like, hey, did you find any evidence of like
mhm.
Imperial remnants? It's like, yes. Should have been. She said no. It's like, what? Like she has like person testimony from her entire crew, because they showed up and they found a giant ship in a ring that's powered by like by 9 hyperdrives that like shot through them and killed one of them, killed one of their fighters. It's like
Hold on.
they saw that they visually saw that, and they pieced together earlier that they were constructing something big with a bunch of different hyperdrives. They also know that it went in, that it used hyperspace or whatever to travel away, and they know, and of course they have Ahsoka who fought someone with a lightsaber, like as in what, like why didn't she say anything? Like they know
I
this.
just realized something. Because, like, as you said, like, oh, they saw the ship. I'm like, yeah, seeing may not be enough proof for them, but they scanned
They
the other
scanned,
ship. So if they
yeah.
scanned it, they probably have
They
the
have
scan
records.
saved.
Yes, that's because that's just logical.
Yeah.
That's what I mean when I say that they're just quote unquote poor writing. Like if you really want it that they encounter these people, then and that they can't prove it, then make that the case. As in, have it that when they show up, like, I don't know, maybe so they come out of hyperspace, they see like the giant space ring, right? And then have Moth Espa, what's her name? What's Morgan?
You keep calling her that. She's just called Morgan. She's just called Betty. I don't know why it's such a problem.
Have Morgan, I don't know, like shoot out like some EMPs that like turns off their system and like wipes their hard drives, right? Wipes their records, like something like that. As in,
just make them jump immediately before they can scan.
Sure, or have them jump immediately before they can scan, right? Like if narratively you want it so that they can't prove what they've seen and they can't prove what they've encountered, then okay, have that be intentional, have that be a part of the story that you're telling, that happens, that their recordings get wiped, right? That they can't, that maybe they're not able to scan in time, maybe they're like scanning because it's so big it's going to take X amount of time, and then bam, they shoot out and they leave before they can scan or confirm anything. Have it that when Hera receives that call, it's before Ahsoka, like before they like get Ahsoka back, because the thing is that Ahsoka fought someone with a lightsaber, right? And that's something that would be told. But like, if all of this is happening before, maybe Ahsoka's still in a coma, right? Maybe she's still in a coma, so she can't say that. She can't say that. She can't verbalize that.
Mm-hmm.
So then Hera can't relay that to anyone, right? Like, have reasons as to why some of this information can't be passed on to sell that, but they don't do that. Because of that, like Ahsoka, she wakes up and she tells them what happened, and then they can just say that.
Oh,
Or they have all these scannings
that?
and recordings. They have multiple like witness testimony as to what's going on. They have the orb that was destroyed by a lightsaber, and you can prove that it was destroyed by a lightsaber, and all this stuff, right? Like there's evidence. Like didn't they kill one of the what's the Death Sisters? What's his name?
No.
One of the Inquisitors.
Remember, he disappeared in a cloud of something, so they have no physical evidence of
That's
him
not
existing.
true. His clothes are still there. What are you talking about? Like, he as
Yes,
an entity,
that's
he was like
what
made
they're
out of
gonna
gas
use
or
as an
something,
excuse.
and the lightsaber's still on the ground. Like he's like that. Like evidence of a battle is still there, right? So like again, if you want it so that they can't prove any of this, then make them not prove any of it. Like have whoever that they're up against, like the Inquisitors or the Empire, the Imperial remnants or whatever, like have them actively like hide their tracks, make them seem smarter because of that, and then have that happen, right? Where it's like logically it makes sense in your mind, like yeah, they like it's feeling like conspiratorial, like they just can't prove what's going on, but what's happening and they know what's happening, and they're trying to figure out what's going on, they're trying to prove it so that people take them seriously, so then the rebels or the New Republic can like take action, but like they just can't, like they're doing everything and then they just can't figure it out, and you didn't even know what's going on. There's like there's better ways to write this instead of here where Hera's like, I can't prove it. I don't. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, what? Like,
I guess we have nothing.
And
then the next scene,
mm-hmm.
just Ahsoka gets up and she goes to the place and she like touches an orb. She's like, okay, so I saw everything in my memories.
Also, like
cool.
the other issue as well is that Hera is meant to have been a general, and she has 10 extra years of experience because of the time skip. You would think that her word has weight with the person that she's speaking to, right? Like, this is what we mentioned earlier when it comes to like this time skip 10 years later, this kind of progression. You'd expect these characters to have excelled in their standings and to have a little bit more weight to their words as a result of that, and have and have higher standing, like in the grander scheme of things. Or if they don't, give a reason for that. Like, if they don't, or like, yeah, it's just. Yeah.
And also, I feel like just because of that experience, she also knows better how to navigate that, and like how to like pull off some stuff to make it legit.
Yeah, and if you don't want to do that, then have a reason as to why that's not happening. Like I think I floated the idea previously when we covered one of the earlier episodes. If they really wanted to, they could have had it that like after the events of Rebels, like she retired from the rebellion to be a mom. If they really wanted to, like they could have it that she retired from rebellion, she's not a general anymore. She wants to be a mom. She wants to raise her son because she's an only mother, and she has her child now that Kanan left her, and like she wants to focus on that. And if that happened, maybe she has like personal ties. Then you can make it that she has personal ties with whoever it is that she's speaking to, but she has no grand standing. So like her word isn't good enough anymore because she's not a general anymore, because they need more proof and all this stuff. Like you can do that if you want, but like again, they didn't do any of that, so it's like this. Yeah. So it just makes less sense, and it just hurts the brain when you see these things happen. It's like, what's going on? It's like, yeah, it just, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just nodding quietly. Like, yeah, as I said, I am no longer angry about this show because I just don't feel anything about it anymore.
Yeah. It's the worst writing you could think of, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Like I still like I again like even thinking back on this, like I still think that the portrayal of Obi-Wan was better than the portrayal of any old character here, like Ahsoka, Hera,
Fair enough.
Sabine. Yeah,
Fair enough.
I think that's what I think of when I think of the Obi-Wan show. Is that I think that the portrayal, like Ewan McGregor and
The character
Obi-Wan, I think
itself was fine.
the character itself made sense. Like I don't think there was anything that didn't make sense there. Like they even went further with it, right? Like where he remember he cut himself off from the Force, and like and he had his own PTSD trauma because he raised Anakin, and Anakin remember how we were
And
like,
he
oh
felt responsible for that.
yeah, exactly. Remember how we're like, wouldn't it be interesting if like Ahsoka was kind of like that as well, where she had her own doubts because she was raised by Darth Vader? Well, they did that with the Obi-Wan show, where he felt responsible for Anakin because Anakin killed a bunch of kids and did awful things, and he raised him and he failed him. Like that makes sense, as to where the character is there. But there's nothing here. Like they didn't do that with
Yeah.
Ahsoka. They didn't do it with anyone.
Yeah, they didn't. They didn't do it with Ahsoka. They didn't do it with Sabine because, as you mentioned in
Yeah.
previous episode, like apparently her entire family is dead, which is something
Yeah.
we just learned as a single line just in one part of the show.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is which again, for those who didn't watch Rebels, that's a big thing because
Mm-hmm.
she literally gave up on her current life to go back to help her family. So like it was like a big thing for her.
Mm-hmm.
So for her entire family to suddenly be dead, like that should be like a huge plot point.
Yeah. Again, we didn't get to discuss the previous episodes and record it, but as Kuro is touching on, Sabine and her Mandalorian kind of like heritage was a big part of the character to the point where she left the Rebels show and left the main cast to be with them, to help them. And suddenly, post time skip, we know that there was a genocide, there was like a purge on Mandalore, and her family died. And that's not touched on at all so far. I say so far because technically, I guess I can bring it up later, but it doesn't make any sense to bring it up later and not earlier. Like when you're setting up the character, when you're being reintroduced to the character, that's typically when you want to like lay down the foundation of what the character is like at the moment. And if there was any kind of regrets or PTSD or anything related to Mandalore and her family, it would have been brought up by now. And the fact that it hasn't been means that they're probably not going to do anything with it, which is disappointing. And it just doesn't make any sense for the character because that was a big part of the character, and they just glossed over it completely, and we're just done with that.
Which reminds me that there was a point when Sabine had the dark saber and she just gave it to Bo-Katan and everyone was okay with it.
Yeah.
And then the Mandalorian show happened.
Hey, we're not reviewing Mandalorian show right now. Okay, we're done with that. But so yeah, it was as I mentioned, when it comes to the episode itself, I think this might have been the worst episode of the show. I mean, it's been like a week since we watched the previous episode, so maybe I'm
I was gonna
glossing
say
over
this
how
is
bad some of the other episodes were. This was like a nothing
I,
episode, I guess, is a better way of putting
yes, this I was gonna say I don't know if I would call it the worst episode, but this was the most nothing burger episode. Like
it. Yeah,
nothing really happened.
it was. Yeah, it was just there was nothing. Which maybe this is the best episode because
Because every other episode is so offensive.
yeah. This plateaus as very very like sub mid as an episode, whereas the others dip down lower because of what they do. No, I say that, but like even then I talk about the missed opportunities and the waste of Anakin and all that stuff. So yeah, and yeah.
again, it is at the point where like you're just so hurt by this show that you don't care anymore. So it's really hard to judge if it's better or
Well, I think what's
worse.
shocking to me, I mean, maybe we're speaking on it too soon, but apparently there's going to be a season 2 of this, which is
This is getting a season
yeah,
two.
this got greenlit as a season 2. That's crazy.
Was it greenlit before the
I
first
don't know.
season aired?
I don't know.
Because that happens sometimes.
It does happen sometimes. I don't know, but yeah, so far it's been an experience. And yeah,
It's such a shame that we didn't start this early because we didn't get to talk about Grandpa and his granddaughter.
true, true. We'll talk about it next time.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
His name
I
Moff
can see it
Balin?
from the
No,
thumbnail of the next episode.
Lord Balin. That's it. Oh, mate, Lord Balin.
Yes, but we call Lord Balin Grandpa, and he took his granddaughter to work,
Yeah, he did.
and
He did.
they're having an adventures.
And to be fair, we did settle last episode, episode 4, that Lord Balin is probably one of the better characters of the show.
Probably the best character of this specific show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we're spending very little time with him, and it took a while for them to actually have the character be a little bit more interesting. But we got the most
Hmm.
out of Lord Balin in episode 4, and he's the most
Yes.
interesting character that they're bringing forward here. It is a bit of a shame that they've spent so little time with him, and we'll see if they expand
Yeah.
in a
To
good way.
catch.
Like I should emphasize that so far he's the most interesting, but they can very easily ruin that character very
Oh
easily.
no, yeah.
Yeah,
But so to catch people up, what we mean is that he is a guy who was a Jedi. That much we know. He was
Mhm.
a Jedi, but he seems like this, like disillusioned old man that is just
Yeah,
tired.
yeah,
He's just tired of all of this. It's just
hmm
kind of there, but he's just like just leave me alone.
yeah,
And that's why I say that like it's grandpa and taking his teenage granddaughter because his student, his apprentice, like seems like this like teenage girl that he just like took with her, like and like yeah, they're working together.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting portrayal of someone like this. And we'll see what they do with the character. I think there's a very interesting way that they can take the character. There's a very boring way that they can take the character. I think you mentioned before that the most concerning thing is that he said that like he wants power at one point, and that's very dull. Like that's
Yes,
very disappointing.
because
That was like some motivation for him. Whereas you would think that he'd
more
be
than
over
that,
that by now. Like you
more
would
than
hope
that,
that he has better motivations than that.
for those who, because again, to catch people up, the point of the bad guys, quote unquote, what they're doing is they're trying to find General Thrawn. General
Mm.
Admiral. He's Admiral, right?
Admiral, yeah.
They're trying to find Thrawn. And the apprentice asks the master, okay, so what's in it for us? And he says, power. How like you could never imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
Like is Thrawn like gonna bestow power on them, or like what are we talking about?
Yeah, that was the most disappointing part of the character and the story that they're trying to tell with that duo. But there were other things that were more interesting, right? With his talk with Sabine and his demeanor. I think his demeanor is probably the biggest thing that's the most
Yes,
attractive
yes.
about the character. But
Like he's
we'll
again,
see.
as you said, like his conversation with Sabine was okay. Like
Yeah,
because he was kind of basically convincing her, like like we know what you're trying to do, and we kind of have aligning goals and stuff. Like he wasn't trying to threaten her. Like
yeah.
he was just like like we all have like similar goals. Like you may as well just go with us.
As you mentioned, he just seemed very tired. Like he was just
Yes, he
over it.
seemed very tired.
He was just
He
over it.
again,
He's
he's
just
portrayed as this old man who's just over
mhm.
all of this. Like
Yeah,
he doesn't care. Like I mean, if you want to go with us, like you can go with us, or we can just kill you right now. Like
yeah.
kind of thing. Like,
It,
but he wasn't like threatening. He was just like that's just how it is.
mhm. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what they do with the character of Ome Lord Balin. They do with Moth Espa, and yeah, we'll see. But yeah, with that I guess wraps up the episode itself. Um, yeah, not the most egregious episode, but we'll see where we go from here when it comes to the story. Disappointing more than anything. Disappointing. Just as I mentioned, like I'm disappointed that they just wasted
I agree.
the Return of Anakin, especially if they don't do that again, and I don't think they will.
Because
Um, yeah.
as you said, because like the Return of Anarchy, it had a lot of potential for some
Yep.
interesting plot points, but also I
Interesting
also
interactions.
I do want to give some credit. I think like the actress for younger Ahsoka also did fine because that's also always like a concern where
Mhm.
like you introduce more and more actors, especially younger actors. But I think she did fine. I've said it before about this show that like in the writing that was created here, I think the actress for Ahsoka, like the older Ahsoka, also is doing well.
Mhm.
Again, with the material she was given, but I think she's doing a fine job.
Mhm.
So like they are like, I want to commend the actors' performances for the most part, but you know the writing is what it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just it's a shame the material that they have to work with. Like this isn't
Yeah.
like, and I say that for the majority of the majority of the time, like it's very often it isn't like the voice actor or the actor's fault as to why the story is performed poorly. Sometimes, of course, there are instances where there is bad acting involved, but I feel like that's quite rare. I don't know. Like I feel like that isn't usually the biggest
Yeah, I
issue. The
don't
biggest issue is usually just like the writing, the direction, the camera work, the
Yeah, I don't think
overall
I can
like
even I can
story.
even fault like the Hera's actress, because like I don't know what kind of like what they told her to do
Mhm.
essentially. Like I don't know what the directing was. I don't know what
Yeah.
kind of knowledge she had about the actor, about the character beforehand either.
Mhm.
But she's completely different portrayal of the character, to the point is disconnected. But like I don't think that's like the fault of the actress
Yeah,
necessarily.
exactly. That's the fault of the director, right? That's the
Yeah.
fault of the those that are making decisions as to the direction of the entire show and the story that they're trying to tell. Like they're the ones that are telling them to act a certain way, to behave a certain way, to say certain things, right? Like it's that they're just like actors more often than not like tools that are being used here, and it's not necessarily their faults that regarding the poor story that's being told. But yeah, with that, with that, that's us discussing episode 5. Hopefully, future episodes, our discussion about them is going to be shorter because it feels like we had to kind of go over the backstory and,
Yeah, yeah,
and
I was
some
gonna
previous
say, like, we had to
episodes.
like
So,
summarize a lot of pasta,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
why it got a little bit messy.
For sure, for sure. But yeah, yeah. Over time, we'll be able to wrap up and cover episode 6, 7, and 8. There's 3 episodes left. We're more than halfway through the show, and it cannot end fast enough. That's what I will say though is that after this we should be able to jump into something that's supposedly is going to be a little bit better. I believe Bad Batch will be it'll either be Bad Batch or Maul, which one or the other. Maul is more relevant, more recent. Bad Batch
Yes,
a little bit
we
older, but
were as we were discussing like our previous favorites. I do really like Maul. Maul is a great character, specifically the Clone
yeah,
Wars Maul. He's pretty good. That's what I'm saying. You guys should watch it if you haven't.
yeah. Well,
And I mean the old stories. I don't know if the new show is good, but I hope it is.
yeah. I don't think we've decided yet on whether or not we want to watch Maul first or Bad Batch first, but it's one or the other. Bearing in mind, when we say Bad Batch, we mean Bad Batch season 2, as we've already seen season 1, which we enjoyed. Had its issues, of course, but overall we
Yeah, it
did enjoy
definitely
it.
had its issues, but again, like it went back to again this like focusing on characters more so than like general, happenings in the universe, to put it that way.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, with that, we're going to be wrapping up here for the day, for the time being, and we'll be back next time with Ahsoka episode 6. I know that Kuro is looking forward to
Yay. Again,
it.
I'm pointing back to my picture that I googled in
I
like
I
Premiere.
love that hair picture that you're using. By the way, it's amazing.
I'm sorry that it has no like carry or anything, but I,
Uh,
I I needed something fitting if we were
uh,
gonna do this.
yes. It perfectly encapsulates how you feel about this show.
Yeah. I
It's
love
good.
her and I miss her because she's not here in this show,
She's not in the
unfortunately.
show. No, she's not. She's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait until she's portrayed in live action.
Yeah, I can't wait to Hera. I mean, Zeb made it to live action. I mean, Hera has to be there eventually, right?
Eventually, they'll be able to. Yeah, eventually, we'll get Hera. Haven't got her yet though.
No, 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 she's not there.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, with that, we'll see you guys next time. We'll see you guys for the next. What do we call this? Review? Discussion?
Discussion, yeah,
Cranky
sure.
review? Cranky discussion? Cranky summary?
Cranky ramblings. Like cranky old man,
No. But that's not going to be as fitting whenever we like something, though. What if we like something?
True, true. Optimistic,
Not
but
in this
yeah.
show, no. But eventually we'll watch
Not
something
in the
that
show.
we'll watch something that we like though. Eventually, yes.
Eventually. Hopefully. At
Hopefully,
some point.
yeah, yeah. We'll come up with a name. But thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Until then, ciao, 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 bye.
Bye.